Find those children like you've always, else you will be destroyed.
There was a school at the edge of Ajanaku village, right where the forest started. It was an old government school that nobody cared about anymore. Red dust covered everything during Harmattan season. The desks, the blackboard, even the children's faces. A big Iroko tree grew very close to the classroom. It was older than the school, older than anyone could remember. When Mr. Obasi came to teach primary 4, everyone liked him. He spoke softly, he dressed well, he came to school early every day. He never shouted or beat children. The headmaster said, "This is a good teacher." Mama Akachi, the woman who sold akara at the school gate, watched him carefully. She saw him come before sunrise. She saw him stand under the Iroko tree, talking to himself. She saw a shadow fall the wrong way sometimes. But she kept quiet. In Ajanaku, you don't speak against teachers. Strange things began to happen slowly. Mr. Obasi started calling children to stay after school. One by one, always alone. He would close the door and give them white chalk. He told them to draw circles on the floor. He made them say strange words. Say it.
Draw a circle on the floor with this chalk. You will become wiser and more intelligent.
What the children didn't know was that these words marked their spirits. At night, when everyone was sleeping, Mr. Obasi would transform. His body would twist and change until he became a huge owl with red eyes. He would fly to the marked children's window and call their spirits with a cry that sounded almost human. The children's spirit would rise from their sleeping bodies and follow the owl into the forest. There, Mr. Obasi and others like him, dark people who served the forest power, would feed on the children's souls, little by little, night after night, until nothing was left. Some children came back different. They looked sleepy during the day, but their eyes were too bright at night. They stopped playing. They just sat and stared at nothing. Their souls were being eaten. Other children stopped coming to school. They never woke up one morning, or they became so sick that they died. Their spirits had been completely consumed. Their parents said they went to live with family in the city because the truth was too terrible to speak. But Mama Akachi saw that their mothers stopped smiling. Their fathers drank too much. At night, you could hear women crying. Since that teacher came, the old woman said, children don't dream like children anymore. But still, nobody spoke against Mr. Obasi. He was educated. He was respectful. Who were they to question him? Adaeze lived with her grandmother near the river. Her mother died when she was born, during a terrible thunderstorm. Lightning hit the Iroko tree 3 times, but the tree didn't burn. The midwife said baby Adaeze didn't cry. She hummed instead, and her eyes were open, seeing things babies shouldn't see. This child came with her own light, her grandmother said. Adaeze was a quiet girl, small for her age. Her eyes looked old. She never cried at night. Goats followed her home. Once, a snake saw her and waited for her to pass before moving again. And grandmother taught her to pray to the river goddess every morning. She gave her a cowrie shell that belonged to her mother. Your mother prayed for you before you were born, the old woman said. Her prayer still protects you. When Mr. Obasi first saw Adaeze, he became very still. He smiled, but something changed in his eyes. He could see that her spirit was different, bright, and protected. He wanted it badly. A soul like hers would feed him and his people for months. He waited 2 weeks, then he called her. Adaeze, he said one Friday after school. His voice was sweet like honey. Stay behind. I have a special lesson for you. The other children left quickly. They were happy it wasn't them. Adaeze stayed at her desk. She remembered her grandmother's words, "If a lesson smells like fear, child, run." This lesson smelled like something rotten. Mr. Obasi closed the door. He closed the curtains. The room became dark, even though the sun was still shining outside. He put white chalk in her hands. "Draw," he said softly. "Draw the circle I show you." He pointed at the floor. Old symbols had been scrubbed away, but you could see them. Adaeze looked at the chalk, looked at her teacher, looked at the shadows in the corners. The shadows were moving, breathing. "No, sir," she said quietly. Mr. Obasi's smile became tight. "It's a special lesson. You will be wise. You will be..." "No, sir." The chalk in her hand turned black, not grey, quickly black. It turned to dust in her fingers. Mr. Obasi jumped back like he was burned. For the first time, he felt pain. Adaeze stood up. She was small, but suddenly she seemed big. "You cannot take what does not belong to you," she said. Her voice sounded like two people speaking, like someone else was speaking with her, someone who had been waiting. The teacher's shadow pulled away from the wall. It grew bigger, darker. It grew horns and claws and a huge mouth. The thing he worshipped, the thing he fed with children, rose up behind him with dark smoke. Mr. Obasi's body began to twist. His arms started becoming wings. His face stretched into a beak. He was trying to transform into the owl, trying to mark her spirit so he could call her at night and take her to the forest to be devoured. But Adaeze didn't move. The cowrie shell in her pocket became warm. The air smelled like river water and rain. The classroom walls seemed to breathe. For a moment, they weren't walls anymore. They were trees, very old trees that were there before the school, before the village, before Mr. Obasi made this deal with darkness. Lights came from everywhere. Not bright light, but soft light like morning. Adaeze's mother's prayers wrapped around her like a blanket. You couldn't see them, but they were strong. The transformation stopped. Mr. Obasi screamed as his half-formed owl body twisted back. He couldn't complete the change. He couldn't mark her. He couldn't take her spirit. The protection around her was too strong. The shadow screamed. The forest's power itself turned on him the way a snake bites the hands that feeds it. It was angry that he had failed, angry that he had tried to take a protected child. The darkness folded into itself, took him with it. When Mama Akachi and the headmaster broke down the door, they found Adaeze standing in the middle of the classroom. She was fine. Mr. Obasi was gone. Only his shoes were left, sitting neatly under the teacher's desk. The school closed for 2 weeks. The others came to clean it with prayers and holy water, and water from the river. They cut down the iroko tree. When they cut it, red liquid came out like blood. They burned it, and it took 3 days for the fire to finish. Adaeze went back to her grandmother's house. She didn't talk about what happened, but sometimes when she walked to the stream, women would stop her. They gave her money, or food, or cowrie shells. They touched her head gently and whispered, "Thank you." She never asked why. She knew. That's how Ajanaku village learned that not every teacher teaches good things, and that a child protected by God cannot be destroyed. The elders still tell this story to children who trust strangers too much. They always end it the same way. The power you feed will get hungry, and when you have nothing left to give, it will eat you instead. Then they look at the children and ask, "If a lesson ever smells like fear, what do you do?" And the children answer, "Go on."